Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pittsburgh Sportsline. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I'm sitting in Mike Migliori's seat for the second week in a row. He's under the weather here. I've tried to get a hold of him. And we have another guest host here, Big Mike Butera. We'll get to him in a second or two. And we also have Chip, the Prophet Hayner here, and Smoking Jim Frazier. But I did plan for a little birthday surprise. And there's two birthdays this week, and Mike didn't show up. So there's a guy right here. I have to fix this up right now. Hold on a second. Will you wait? Here we go, folks. I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. We got the biggest Pirate fan here. And then for the rest of us peons, we got a nice, this is Bethel Bakery supplied this. Courtney, if you're watching,
Look how big
thank you for, it's huge. That's a great shot of our Pirate fan. We better get a candle going here. The volunteer fire department said the last time, thanks for being so safe. So we'll put a little candle in for the chipper. And fellas,
Pedro, take that ball out of the park.
and then we have another little surprise here. Chocolate chip cookie cake.
Chip.
In honor of Chip.
Pun
intended.
The pun is intended. Here, the icing. Magnifique. Bethel Bakery, thank you. Hold on, we didn't end here. There's napkins for you to.
Oh, I'm not eating on TV.
Hey, we did it last time.
I'll end up with chocolate all over my shirt.
Well, let's light this thing up and wish you a little birthday. I'm sure Big Mike's a better singer than I am, so.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm a natural.
Okay, well, we'll need you
What's
to.
the song we're going to sing? Is it New York, New York, or which song?
I left my heart in San Francisco or something. Sitting
Might
on the
take
dock
me
of
out
the
to
bay.
the ball game.
Happy birthday to
you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Chipper. Happy birthday to you.
All right. And,
Make
see
a
what
wish.
I'm gonna wish for. You
I
know what my wish was
I know
for?
what he's wishing for already.
Is a wild card berth.
And they're 2.5 games out, folks.
Wait. With your kid, I thought you were going for first place or something.
You know what? Have to be realistic. Have to be realistic.
On TV, I lost my mic. I was trying to cut this for the folks here. Oh, I can't even cut it. Whatever.
Don't do that at home, kids. You should never lose
Big
your
Mike,
mic. You know what I mean?
we're gonna go to Big Mike right now. And what's on your mind, Big Mike?
What's on my mind? Why'd you guys invite me back? I have no clue. But on a serious note, since this is a sports show, I will keep this related to sports. And because I'm a rambler, I'm going to make my point first and then work backwards. But basically, it's like in real life, most of us have jobs. And you report to the level ahead of you, and the level ahead of you reports to the level ahead of you, and so on up the line, the chain of command. Call it what you will. But something that was distinctly brought out this past weekend with the Boston Red Sox and the episodes with Bobby Valentine and Dustin Pedroia and Alfredo Aceves, the pitcher, and Aceves, I guess you call it disrespecting the manager. That stuff happens in baseball, hockey, and basketball, where the players seem to take over and run the team. It doesn't happen in football so much in my mind, because football smash mouth, and that starts with the coach yelling at those guys from that perspective. But what is happening with these guys that are, well, yeah, they're making more money than the manager, they're making more money than the general manager, and consequently they get away with all kinds of stuff. I don't know what you want to call it, but it is just god awful. It's look, I like the Boston Red Sox. I'm a baseball fan. I don't care what my favorite team is. I've always liked the Boston Red Sox, a very revered team throughout through the years. But man, I'll tell you what, that's like I think the word is imploding with hey, thank you, with what they're doing to Bobby Valentine, because you can't control these guys that are making more money than you are. But in real life, everybody that I've reported to over the years, they make more money than I do, and I got to respect everything that comes my way. And I'm done talking. I'm getting the looks over here. But that's what's on my mind.
If that's on your mind, Big Mike,
I'll
that's
tell you
okay.
what, I'm ready to rumble with that stuff. You know what I mean? Thanks, guys. Right on.
Well, thanks, Big Mike, and enjoy that little chocolate chip cake. And
Hey, how come the brother got a little bit of chocolate?
Because here's what happened. Here's what happened.
Because there's 3 of us.
Here's what happened. This one fell apart. You can have it.
Because I'm a chocoholic.
Yeah. Smoking Jim Frazier. What's on your mind besides having all that chocolate chip?
Well, I got your thumb imprint on this one. I know it'll be
sorry.
good, though. Hey, listen, everybody knows around here, man, there's some tough neighborhoods, especially in the inner city. I know Al Levine, the talking machine, knows what I'm talking about. You got Homewood. Homewood is Westinghouse High School, known for football. You got the Hill District, which is known, Shinley and Fifth Avenue, known for basketball. Braddock, which is now Woodland Hills, tough neighborhoods. I tell you what, the second toughest neighborhood I ever been into in my life is down in Miami called Liberty City, where Antonio Brown and Ocho Cinco, Chad Johnson, is from. But the toughest city I've ever been to, I was at UTEP, in University of UTEP in Texas, El Paso. End up making a wrong turn, ended up in Mexico. And I tell you what, I ran into the meanest, 25 of the meanest, baddest, toughest Mexicans you ever want to see in your life. And the leader of the gang walked right up to me and said, "Go home, Yankee, and take us with you." And I tell you what, I became an NFL scout and a smuggler. But I tell you what, hey, congratulations to a few teams. Bethel Park did a great job in high school football, scored 60 points over a pretty good Plum team. Upper St. Clair came from behind. There's some tough football out here in the South. Upper St. Clair came from behind, beat a very good Woodland Hills team, and hats off to Gateway High School, who I'm predicting will be in the top 10 USA Today by the end of the season. They scored 69 points against Latrobe, 69-6. And that's what's on my mind.
Thanks, Smoking Jim. And enjoy your double chocolate chip cakes.
I'm about to put face all in it.
And it's from Bethel Bakery. And here we go to the birthday boy. It's his birthday on the Thursday here, so happy birthday again, Chip. What's on your mind, buddy?
Well, thank you very much, Alan. What's on my mind is last week we kind of didn't mention the fact that the college football season was starting. And even after the start of the college football season, I really don't think there's anything worth mentioning. I'm going to start complaining about the BCS and the system that they have in place right now because I think it's a joke, it's a farce. There's only 4 or 5 teams that even have an outside chance of playing for the national championship. And, one of the things that perplexes me about college football is they start out with the rankings every season, okay? And, you have rankings at the end of the last season, okay? Alabama was ranked number 1, LSU was ranked number 2. Now, nobody's played a game, and they've changed the rankings and everything. So all of a sudden, Alabama went from being the defending national champion to the number 2 ranked team. They played a very mediocre Michigan team and took it to them the other night at Texas Stadium, which, you think about this one for a minute, college football is supposed to be played on the campus of one of the universities, okay? Now, which university had the home field advantage here, Alabama or Michigan? I would have to think it might be Alabama because they were only, 500 or 600 miles from their university?
Sure.
The thing that makes college football so exciting is that the games played on the campus and the enthusiasm that you see they have for each of their teams. And because of Alabama's whooping of Michigan, now all of a sudden they're back to being the number 1 ranked team in the country. And USC, which was ranked number 1, is now number 2 without having lost a game. So this somehow seems to make sense to people, and it doesn't make any kind of sense to me. You are the defending national champion until somebody knocks you off. And that's the way I believe that the rankings should be. As the season goes, like I said, there will be 4 or 5 teams that have a legitimate shot at playing for the national title. And I think they ought to revamp the whole system completely. This playoff system that they have in place for this year, I think it's a joke. It's going to be a great big quagmire, and it's going to cause nothing but dissension. And it's going to give sports writers something to write about in December. In the 6 weeks between when the last regular season games played and the bowl games that mean anything are played, which is another thing that I don't understand. But That's my rant about college football, and that's all I've got to say about it for now.
Thanks, birthday boy.
Right on. Happy
You
birthday.
sounded a little sarcastic on that, so I relate to a lot of that. Thank you. I enjoy that. And I would be totally remiss if I didn't talk Hug-a-thon Pittsburgh. It's on Thursday, the same day as Chip's birthday. So come on downtown. You'll see me in front of the City County building with other media stars and local personalities at 2:30 to 3:15 at the City County building. We'll have people hugging at Macy's Clock and in Katz Plaza in the Cultural District. Come on down for that day, and then we'll have our gala event that evening at the Doubletree on Bigelow in downtown Pittsburgh. But what's on my mind is you guys missed Tiger Woods. He didn't win, but he's the first guy to gross over $100 million in golf purses. And guess what? The guy in second place only has $70 million. To me, that's quite an accomplishment in a lifetime, let alone knowing that he can play a little bit longer, I would think. So if he doesn't win another major, look at the money he's made just in golf. Wow. To me, that's outstanding. So that's what's on my mind right now, and I wanted to go right to the Pirates here.
Well, who's in second place? Tiger's wife?
No. She only got the earnings that year.
She only got half. She only got half.
It's not forever?
No. That's why it's nice being on the show with you guys. And since we have a Pittsburgh Pirate cupcake here, let's go to our man on the inside with the Pirates there.
Well, the Pirates have stumbled a little bit in the past week. They were 2-4. They're in the midst of a 4-game losing streak, which they're going to turn around tonight against the Astros. Going to get the ship righted. Still only 2.5 games out of the wild card spot, and I think the Pirates are positioned pretty well. I mean, they had an opportunity to make up some ground this weekend because the Nationals took it to the Cardinals, and they still have, I believe, 3 or 4 more games to play against the Nationals before the end of the season. Yeah. And we've got games now like the next 5 games. We've got the 2 against the Astros today and tomorrow. We've got a 3-game set against the Cubs, and this is a chance for us to really kind of make a move. These are 2 teams that we should easily win the series against the Astros. I'm saying that we're going to win the last 2. By all rights, we should sweep the Cubs, and if we do that, we can put ourselves back in control of our own destiny. And I think one of the things that's really hurting the Pirates the last 7 games has been the Neil Walker's bat being out of the lineup and his presence on the field. I've said this before that a couple of months ago when Neil started getting hot, that the Pirates needed to get him locked up. They need to pay this kid because I think he means a lot more to the team than just the bylines at in the stat sheets show. Starling Marte is getting ready to start a rehab assignment, probably in the minors. They're probably going to send him down for a couple of games tomorrow. And, hopefully both these guys will be back on the field this weekend. And I think it can give the Pirates a little bit of a boost of enthusiasm to kind of get them over the doldrums that they're in. I somehow seem to think that, they're wondering, like, do we really belong here? It is September, and, we're talking about the Pittsburgh Pirates. They are contending.
They're still here, Chip, but you forgot one of the biggest things you could have rubbed into my face a little bit is, I'll mention it. There was a guy, the player of the week. All right? And it's Smoking Jim Frazier's MVP pick, Pedro Alvarez. Player of the week. He hit .458.
Yes.
How many homers and 16 RBIs?
That one homer he hit against the Cardinals, it still hasn't landed.
469 feet. Only 469. It hit something. It got in the way.
Yeah.
MVP!
But I'm surprised he didn't bring that up. But I did want to get to the McCutchen fading again in the second half. This sort of reminds me of Smoking Jim. I know Mike Migliori's not here, so pray for him that he gets better soon, or maybe he's making a fantastic film and he just forgot to show up.
No, he's sticking his pins in his Clint Hurdle doll.
Okay, well, he may be doing that, but Smoking Jim always reminded me about certain players get these alligator arms. Well, I think maybe we get a batter that got alligator arms and he's not hitting the ball like he did. What do you think, guys?
Well, and I think McCutchen, this is something that he's got to work his way through, and I think he's got plenty of help, and it's something that nobody else can figure out for him. He's got to do it on his own. Personally, myself, if I was Andrew McCutchen, and he's so close to winning the batting title. This is one of the things that really kind of get me a little irked, and I wish baseball would do something about it. But you got a guy who's right now leading the National League in batting, who's serving a 50-game suspension for admittedly cheating, okay? Because when he got, tested positive, he didn't appeal it. He accepted the punishment, which was an admittance of guilt, okay? So why should this guy even be allowed to be even considered to win one of the titles for this year? But I mean, I think McCutcheon still has the tools to be able to turn this around. He's just got to find a way to, if he has to go back and look at tape from June and July when he was hitting the cover off the ball. But I think he's going to figure it out, but he's got to do it, and he's got to do it quick.
It's a tough thing to watch because Garrett Jones has really impressed me. I was hoping he would have a good season, but he's almost playing the second half as well as McCutcheon was playing. A little notch below, but without his hitting and consistency, he might end up the season close to 300.
Well, and
that's a heck of a thing.
The thing about Garrett Jones came to a point, in the beginning of June, I was at a game, and somebody hit a ball, and he just very lackadaisically ran after it, and then the guy stretched a single into a double, and I took issue with it. I started screaming immediately, but a friend of mine ran into Kent DeColvey after the game, walking out of the stadium, and he talked to him about that. He said, "Don't worry," he goes, "he's in Clint Hurdle's office right now having a talk to." And since that game, Garrett Jones has earned his spot on that team. Because last year they had a guy that was a cancer in the clubhouse, and he was a horrible shortstop, Ronnie Cedeno. And this kid had all the talent in the world and could be the starting shortstop for any team that he wants. He's just a lazy ball player. And, they got him off that team because he wouldn't hustle, okay? And if you notice one thing about the team now, for all their faults, and there are a few of them, they do hustle, and they do play. And they play for 27 outs, and they hustle down the line on every ball that's hit. And that's one of the things that I'm really happy to see that the Pirates are doing, because in years past, when things started going sour, you'd see guys stop hustling. And the minute you stop hustling is when you're going to start losing games in droves.
George Hendrick?
George Hustle Hendrick?
No, what was he called? He was called Lopin' George or something like that.
Big Mike, what do you think about the Pirates since we've been dominating this conversation? I know you got to have an opinion since you're old school back in the Forbes Field days.
If I could read my notes, because I'm so old, yeah.
If you want to, sir.
I will. I'd like to comment. I'd like to direct this comment to Chip and you other guys, and all you people out there can listen in. You mentioned, I think you mentioned Melky Cabrera, not by name, but by
by deed.
The guy.
By deed.
Well, I guess the reason why he could win the batting title is because there aren't rules in place for that any type of behavior. If you qualify, what is it, 5.1 or what's it, 3.1 appearances per game?
Yeah.
If you qualify, you qualify. If there's no rules in place for if you go down by injury, if you go down by death, you go down by anything. You're still there.
But there's a minimum, I think.
But he's gonna.
He has a minimum.
He's going to qualify, and regardless of the fact that he did what he did, he can win.
And that's an excellent point, Mike. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that just shows you how little teeth that the Major League's drug program has. I mean, when these guys can just sit there and say, I'm not gonna even appeal it. It's a 50-game suspension. Big deal. What kind of repercussions is there? If they're gonna have a plan in place to punish these players, they ought to make it real, and they ought to spank them hard. I mean, that 50-game suspension. That's like, you're getting a guy that's getting paid $8 or $10 million a year, and you're giving him a $500 fine. He's whipping off $500 bills and laughing on his way out the door.
We all criticize the NCAA, the organization that stripped Lance Armstrong of all his wins. So why don't they just go to baseball and say, whatever wins they had in that period that he was on drugs, they lose them all.
Easier said than done, but it's not in place for anything.
But I mean, that's so easy. If everybody else can do it, to me, I disagree with the NCAA.
Barry Bonds has 50 home runs, and Roger Clemens got 25 wins.
But that's what I mean. Baseball has changed. They don't do it. They just laugh at it and look away. So that's a problem.
Yeah, it is, and they don't have any quick solutions, and they try to tout their program as we're cleaning up the sport. And I don't really think they're doing a very good job at policing it. And the rules they have in place is it's a circus.
Did you see the home run Braun had the other day when he hit that towering home run out there? I was thinking that was a heck of a shot. And here's the first guy to ever beat the appeal with Major League Baseball. And that was with synthetic testosterone.
Which I wish I had some, but let me
I
ask you a
don't think
question.
it would help you.
Okay, well, thanks, Ellie. There's
Your
the
wife
voice of
was
reason.
calling in on the show here. I don't know what it was
No,
about.
that was her attorney.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is, I forget, but this is somewhat to your point, Chip. Is anybody? I don't care. Caller's pointing.
All right, 412-831-3304. If you want to join in on some of this intelligent conversation, give us a call.
Yeah, we're
Go
here
ahead,
for
Big
you. We're
Mike.
here for you. The thing I was alluding to earlier on about lack of respect or the guys making money, blah blah blah. I saw an incident this past weekend, and whether you know it or not, I'm partial to a team as well. But I saw an incident this week that kind of like really disturbed me, and it was Robinson Cano of the New York Yankees, second baseman. I mean, a fabulous player. He's got everything. He's just got everything. Smooth as silk. He was in a batter's box. It was a tight game. It was 3-3 with the I forget what they were playing, but it was a 3-3 ball game. Baltimore was what it was, I think. Or no, this was the other day with Tampa. But regardless, 3-3 game. It was late. It was like the 7th inning, maybe 8th inning. The Yankees were on the road, and Cano, whom I personally think is a fabulous ball player and I like him, hit a shot to the third baseman, a line drive. And what he did is he didn't hustle. And what happened was the third baseman deflected the ball, and it went far enough away that if Cano would have just busted at 3/4 speed down the line, he would have beat the throw, because they showed from every doggone angle that after he hit the ball, he just stopped and looked at it, and then he picked it up a little bit. He was thrown out, and not only was he thrown out, the throw was wide from the third baseman, so he had the guy to do a swipe tag, which means Cano didn't even hit the bag. He would have been long gone had he shown a little bit of, that's what you were talking about, hustle.
Yeah.
And then he misplayed a ball, he didn't actually misplay, he didn't make the play on a ball that was hit to his right, whether he's hurt or not. If a guy's hurt, he probably shouldn't be in the game because he's not helping the team. In that case, in that instance, when he didn't play the ball that went to his right and went into right field and the runner from second scored the winning run, I mean, again, it's hustle. And I don't understand. You said every player on the Pirates hustles now. I watch a lot of ball games, and I'm not talking about the Pirates, I'm talking about in general. Mm-hmm. I watch a lot of ball games, and I can't understand why those guys can't run to first base. Look, they're sitting in an air-conditioned dugout for X amount of. I mean, it's not like they're baking on it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
But I know exactly what you're talking about, and where the fault lies. Okay, with the Yankees, with Joe Girardi. You know, Joe Girardi, I don't care how big of a star he is. You know, you've got to have the conviction to sit that guy down and embarrass him, and do it on national television, because that's you do everything on national television now. But the manager has to do that. You know, you spoke to the Bobby Valentine deal. You know, Bobby Valentine, he lost that team early because, I'm Bobby Valentine and you have to respect me because I'm Bobby Valentine. He didn't go in there and earn the players' respect. You know, respect is something that you don't demand, you command respect. And and I think that's probably part of the problem. And ultimately, I think Bobby Valentine was a bad fit for the Red Sox. He's too flamboyant, or he's too much wants to be the center of attention there. Francona was an excellent manager up there, and I don't understand why the Red Sox got rid of him. I mean, what the guy do? He won 2 world championships for them, which nobody had done in 90 years, and they let him go. That just completely perplexed me. But I guess if you're the Red Sox, you can do what you want because you can buy a new team next year, and they freed up $250 million with what they shipped off to the Dodgers last week.
Boy, could I go on that one, man. Somebody explained to me how a trade of that magnitude, happens after the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. When it comes in the waivers. I mean, it's a farce. Waivers, it's a farce. But then again,
it's about the money. It's about the money, man. That's what you just follow the money.
The machine. And
we're going to switch gears a little bit here. I got to get the scouting report with my man Mike Wallace coming back. Smoking Jim, what's the inside scout report here?
You know what? Everybody got the Mike Wallace thing all wrong. I'm going to give you guys the insight. Mike Wallace, everybody's saying, he wimped out because he should have sat out the first 10 weeks, and because you only got to play the last 6 games. And I tell everybody, it had nothing to do about wimping out. It had nothing to do about him wanting to get back to camp, the whole 9 yards. He was willing to sit out, but he was sitting down in Mississippi, and Hurricane Isaac came through, so that's what made him come up here and play for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You mean he beat Isaac here? We're getting a little bit of Isaac yesterday and today.
Yeah,
he's dropping a little rain on us.
Yeah, so that Hurricane Isaac is the reason why he's not only here, but Mike Tomlin kind of backtracked a little bit because Mike Wallace was immediately inserted into the starting lineup, so he's going to start against Denver and be part of the Pittsburgh Steelers team that gets beat by Peyton Manning in Denver next Sunday night.
Well, I'll tell you what. Speaking about the Steelers and the Broncos, and I think I think a couple of things. I was reading Peter King's picks for the year, and he's picking.
He went to get those picks. Smoking Jim.
He's picking Peyton Manning as the league MVP. He's picking Peyton Manning as a comeback player of the year. And, I just don't know. I mean, you think about the surgeries that he had last year. This is a guy that's been playing professional football for 14 years now. Is he going to be able to take a season of beatings? I don't know if Denver's going to have a line that's going to give him the protection. My big concern with the Steelers is, will the Steelers DBs give the linebackers and the defensive linemen enough time to get to Peyton Manning? I think the biggest question mark is our secondary going into this game. It's going to make or break our season. I don't know enough about it. I think the Steelers' offense with weapons like Wallace and Antonio Brown, and I like Chris Rainey coming out of the backfield. I think we're going to be able to score some points. It's just controlling the ball in the offense, which is what we've done historically through the running game. I'm not real confident about that right now.
That's another question. Where is the running game? I watched Dwyer in the preseason here, Smoking Jim, and he looked pretty good there.
Well, Dwyer, don't forget in the mock draft when he was only a junior, 20-year-old junior at Georgia Tech, and he was in some mock drafts they had him going 11th overall to San Diego Chargers. Well, his immaturity dropped him all the way down to the 6th round. But if you guys remember, this is the scouting report I wrote up on Dwyer when he was coming out of Georgia Tech. They ran a wishbone. He was a fullback there. 1,300 yards back-to-back seasons as a sophomore and a junior. I had on a scouting report, and you guys think about this, and he's proven it to be true. On my scouting report, I compared him to, remember Stephen Davis from the Washington Redskins and Carolina Panthers and Auburn? That's the guy that I seen that Dwyer could develop into, and that's who he's starting to develop into. Little short, choppy steps, big guy. He's running hard now. He's not running out of bounds like Franco Harris and hugging Joe Paterno's cutout. But he's actually, turning up and running hard. But I tell you what, you talk about the secondary. You talk about the secondary being a big problem. But the biggest problem, when I wrote it down, is linebackers. Look at all the injuries. James Harrison, back knee. Jason Worrells, who knows, out all preseason with some hockey injury. Sean Spence out for the year. Sylvester Stevenson out for the year. Nose guard Casey Hampton coming off of ACL. Rashard Mendenhall ACL. Max Starks left tackle ACL. And David DeCastro out for the year. A lot of injuries with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And, they don't have the depth that they've had in the past. And that's one of the things that, they might be able to roll out a decent starting four. They say that Harrison's practicing. There's a good chance that he's going to play, but at what degree is he going to be able to perform? Only having a few days of practice. But we've got no depth at linebacker. Losing Spence was a big, big blow. The guy was playing very well in the preseason. Yes. I remember Mike, Smoking Jim talking about him being a tackling machine coming out of the U, and he was kind of showing that he should have actually been drafted a lot higher. He's playing much better. And watching that injury last week against Carolina, it was sickening. And you wonder at what degree does that guy come back from an injury like that?
Do any of these fellows that you mentioned have an opportunity to come back mid-season? Because if that's the case, these guys are fresh, which is like getting new players, getting Is that a possibility? I don't know.
Well, a lot of them are going to play week 1, which is going to be another advantage for Denver. I'm predicting the Pittsburgh Steelers go 0-2. I think Denver blows them out Sunday night. Bet your house on that. And I think that Tim Tebow and the Jets puts it to them week 2. So that's my prediction.
With the ineptitude that the Jets have shown on offense, that might be the cure for
They
the Steelers defense.
Yeah.
That might be the cure for the Steelers defense, because I think missing wide open receivers in the end zone can bode well for the Steelers defense.
That'll help. But you guys were talking about Peyton Manning. I think early in the season, he might be all right. But it gets pretty chilly up there at Mile High Stadium that they have there. And I don't care how much stem cell, shots he had and other type of exotic type of things he went to Europe to get. Nobody's mentioning any of that this year. When he was in the plane, going over to Europe to get those shots, everybody thought it was crazy. Well, now he's back. But I don't think he'll have the durability in the cold. You got his age, all the injuries, and a couple guys are going to take some shots at him. That Denver line isn't the greatest line either.
And and here's another thing. When none of us have mentioned this, and I gotta bring this up because I think this is going to be a big problem. The referees in years past have they've protected people like Tom Brady. They protected Peyton Manning, but now we got these replacement referees in, okay? We've got people that are inexperienced in the speed of regular season NFL games. And, what kind of protection are they going to give Peyton Manning? I mean, now because he's had, he's a mega star and he's had all these, he's no different than any other football player. You see the clubbings that Ben Roethlisberger gets. Do you ever see Peyton Manning get hit around like that? Or do you ever see Tom Brady get allowed to get hit like that?
They won't play. Chip, they're done when they get hit like that.
And exactly that's my point. That's why I'm not so sure that Peyton Manning's going to make it through this season because, he's not a young man anymore. And he's going to get banged around a little bit. The only thing that would make me sick is if they didn't allow the defenses to play defense the way they're taught to go after the quarterback and they put like this
Chip, I brought up this
barrier
last
of
week.
protection around him.
They aren't throwing the flags around with the defensive play. I was watching the Steeler game. Guys are grabbing and holding. They're not getting penalties like you guys have said before, and we all have. There's a penalty on every play if they want to call it. I think a lot of these guys just want to get the job. They'll call the plays that they can. They'll go under the hood, which they do numerous times now. They're under that hood looking for something, some type of answer on what penalty was out there or who scored or whatever. So that's going to happen a lot. But I think Chip's right. People are going to get hurt because there's going to be some of these flagrant fouls they're not going to call. And you got a lot of cheating going on because these guys are looking for the defense. They're grabbing jerseys like crazy now.
I disagree. I couldn't disagree with you guys more. Listen, I think some of these replacement referees is 10 to 20 times better than any NFL referee in the history. Listen, these guys pay attention to everything. A lot of these replacement referees were referees at the Lingerie Bowl. They didn't miss nothing, man, so they trained up. Listen, I don't feel sorry for the referees. Because when the scabs, the unions, are they going to stick together or not? Everybody want to cry about the referees being on strike. Well, the players are still playing. When the players was on strike and the scabs came in and started playing, some of these semi-pro guys, some of these Division III and Division II guys, the NFL referees still refereed those games. You got to have solidarity. That's a big word for me. You got to have solidarity in the unions all across the board. So I'm not crying at all.
No, but you're bringing up some great points.
Thank you, sir.
But my point of this thing is they're not real unions. They're put in place to control people. And that's what I was telling you before. The players' union is to control the rest of the players. The 10% that are the superstars, the 20%, whatever they are, look what they do. Look what they get away with. Then you had the referees union. What kind of union's that? Come on now. They're getting increases. I would have signed it. I'm a radical union guy at this advanced age. They're getting increases. They weren't getting pay cuts, and they're on strike. And what were the conditions? They wanted them to be full-time referees with a pay raise. I don't know how many of you guys out there are out of work
so they
or
don't have
looking
to
for
leave
a
their
job.
legal practice to go and
Right.
officiate NFL games.
But I mean, that's
One
even
day a
beside the point. So whatever solidarity they had, they never had it to begin with. They don't honor anything like that.
Yeah.
Go up to South Hills Village now.
But,
They got non-union
Jim,
people working there, people running into the mall all the time. So
How
we don't
many-
have it in our own neighborhood here.
How many games will be decided this week on a blown call by a referee that would not have gone past them? And which teams are not going to make the playoffs because of that? Because of that, that's one of the things that I'm going to look at, because they're going to be all over Sports Center, because that's what they do. They exploit those kind of things. But that's I mean, we've all got our points of view, but I honestly think that the refereeing is going to affect the outcome of games, which is going to affect a lot of different things, and probably even the lines in Vegas.
How many? I'm going to show my football knowledge now. How many plays can be reviewed during the course of an NFL game?
I believe it's anything that involves a change of possession, or whether or not it's in or out of bounds, or any scoring play can be reviewed.
Right. So
And
there's a
all
lot
the
of
scoring
plays.
now are
Right.
being reviewed
Yeah.
now.
So then, what would be a typical blown call that can't be reviewed, or can't be, just
Illegal blocks.
Holding.
hey,
somebody
holding? Come on, it's every
pulls.
game we talk about every play we talk about that
I mean,
already. But
You can't review that.
Yeah, you
no,
can't review
but that happens every play, as we discussed in the past. So that's not. I don't think that's a bone of contention. Holding. Do you think it's going to get any worse? Holding can only evolve from where it is right now. It can only evolve into tackling, and those guys got to be able to pick that up.
We shall see. I guess the fun all starts tomorrow night, and it'll be on national.
Hold
TV.
it. Wait a second.
Tomorrow
Wednesday night. It
Wednesday
can't
night.
be NFL Wednesday night.
Any given day.
Well,
Who's
it's
playing
not.
tomorrow? The Giants.
Pride Boys.
Yeah,
Jim
yeah,
Giants.
that's
I
right.
heard this on the
Defending
way-
world champions.
I heard this on the way to the show tonight, that it's been 5 opening games that the Giants and the Cowboys have clashed, and the Cowboys have won every game. So what that means to me is, Giants being defending champions, the fact that they were 0-5 in opening games against the Cowboys, as I could
Bet the house.
paraphrase, bet the house. Bet
the house.
Bet the house.
Well, one thing I'll never do, one thing I would never do the rest of my life, is ever bet against the Penguins. Youngstown State Penguins took it to your Pitt Panthers. What an embarrassment. Fire the whole coaching staff.
How did we get
I'm
the
going to
pick?
tell you what.
That's cool. I read this.
There was more disturbing things about that game, other than the fact that they had 5 or 6 drives of over 70 yards and 12 to 14 plays. I mean, the fact that Pitt went for it on 4th and 1, okay, because they didn't want their defense on the field. They didn't trust the head coach.
said
It was
that.
in the paper today that he didn't think that things were going so well for the defense, so that they were going to try out 4th and 1 because they didn't. I mean, how do you say something like that about your team?
He just did.
If I was the defensive coordinator, I'd walk off. But that was an embarrassing
Isn't
loss
there
to a
a,
Division II team.
Wow.
And I mean, Pitt just they fell flat on their faces, and Penn State fell flat on their face too against an Ohio team that even as many players has jumped ship. I mean, Penn State should have beat Ohio University.
Yeah, definitely.
So but who cares?
Well, look,
But,
after,
two of our
after
three
they
local
lost
college
118
teams,
games.
2 of our 3 local college teams fell flat on their face to start the seasons with, and as far as I'm concerned, their seasons are over. I mean, if it could get any worse for Pitt, I don't see how. I mean, if they lose the next 4 games, but how do you lose to a Division II team?
Hold it. Smoking Jim Frazier called this. He was here last week, folks. I don't know if he bet the house, but he said it's disgraceful. They're not going to beat the Penguins in Pittsburgh here. You can't beat them.
One of the things that I have a problem with college football is everybody puts up these cream puffs for their first game, because the whole goal with most of these college football teams is let's get to 6 wins, because then we get to go to the toilet bowl or something like that.
ABCD, XYZ bowl.
Yeah, they become
Elemental
bowl
P
eligible.
bowl.
You see what Oklahoma State did, 84
Yeah.
nothing against Savannah State?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Savannah State, were they just organized or what?
They're not unionized.
How come that
That's the
game wasn't
problem.
on in prime time? Yeah, they would have got 0 ratings, But they put these cream puffs up, and you put a Division II team on your schedule. You are supposed to steamroll them.
Yes.
That's supposed to get your season
Momentum.
going.
Some momentum.
And you get steamrolled. and it's just it's a bit. What would they do? They suspended 6 players from the team the day of the game. One of them was Shell, the kid from Hopo. Now, I did have some inside information, and I'm not going to share it. But there was an incident. There was an incident in a local establishment that caused these players to get suspended.
They get in a fight.
I'm
extracurricular.
I don't want to divulge anything, but the same things that have been going on with the Pitt program for the last 10 years are still going on. And the players just, most of the kids that play college football aren't even old enough to be in bars. Like, why don't they get that?
How did it happen?
How does this happen? How does it continue? And if they are going in, why isn't somebody telling them how to act? Like, look, you fool, you're underage. Behave. Right. I don't know.
You're talking about an old career that you had. You would have spotted that in a second and asked them to leave.
As a matter of fact, in my former life as a bartender, I refused to serve Yarmer Yager when he was 18 years old, and he came into my bar.
The great one?
I refused to serve him, and Robbie Brown was another one when he had hair on his
Jim's
head.
Hero.
No, they came into the bar. They were underage.
Tell us the story,
Chip.
This is why. Call in 412-831-3304. We're going to talk about Yarmer Yager getting refused a drink, even though he just come from the strip club and he was eating Kit Kats. Chipper, tell us what happened here. Nobody knows that
nobody partied like Yager.
Did he have his Kit Kats with him? And you wouldn't give him a drink?
He had those sharp, pointy teeth, and he still looked like a jack-o'-lantern.
But was he a nice guy or what?
No, he just didn't have the orange on yet.
And he used to live out this way in Upper St. Clair.
So now we've covered the local, football. College football scene. We got nothing to talk about with Pitt. We've got nothing to talk about with Penn State. No. I believe West Virginia made a fairly good showing against the Thundering Herd of Marshall, and that was another nationally ranked team that they took to task.
Well, here's the only thing I'm looking at West Virginia. West Virginia, to me, the last game of the season, they may have been better than LSU. In that bowl game, they were tremendous, and they were tremendous against Marshall. Thing you want to look for in the quarterback now, this is how I scout. Thing I want to look at, this is what I'm looking at with Geno Smith, is that his name? Yeah. Got all the tools. He got the height. He's a pocket quarterback, very confident, almost arrogant. But this is what I look for. He is outstanding when he gets a month to prepare. He had a month to prepare for the bowl game. He had a month to prepare for Marshall. Never played that well his whole career except for those 2 games. So let's see what he does each and every week when he only has a week to get ready. Now, with a month to prepare, he's the best quarterback in football, one of the best quarterbacks in football. So let's see what he does the rest of the season when he only has 4 or 5 days to get ready to play a game.
I saw somewhere where they're saying that West Virginia might be with Alabama in the championship game, that they think they'll come out of the...
You got a lot of Big 12 between now and Bama.
Yeah, but that's what they were saying. I forget
and
who
Oklahoma
it was.
State, the Big 12.
Don't count out another national championship between 2 SEC teams. I know another team that they're looking for big things out of is Steve Spurrier in South Carolina.
Well, yes, they barely beat Vanderbilt, which has a good team this year. But the best team in college football, hands down, and I think he's one of the top 10 quarterbacks in all of football. That's including the NFL and the CFL. Matt Barkley and USC is going to run everybody off the field. Bring on Alabama. Barkley and USC, I'll thank them.
He's smoking.
What makes him that good?
Matt Barkley, number one. Other than Tebow, nobody has more faith than Matt Barkley. Number 2, he was a number 1 guy coming out of high school. He started at USC as a true freshman and even beat a pretty good Ohio State team as a true freshman. Ohio State was ranked 1 or 2. Don't forget now, he would have been an early first-round draft pick, probably would have fell to Miami, the 7th pick overall, if he had came out. But he decided to stay. I always felt he was better than Luck. Even last 2 years, Andrew Luck, but he stayed because he wants to win a national championship. And I tell you what, check him out. He can do it all. He can throw, he can run. He can move, and I tell you what, higher, powers is looking after him too.
So he'll be protected there.
He sends up a lot of prayers. So check him out, Matt Barkley, special kid.
There you have it from the scout.
Hey, I wanted to ask Smoke and Chip, since you guys are fast forwarding to the national championship game, I think you mentioned Alabama and West Virginia.
In Youngstown State.
I said West Virginia.
In the Penguins?
In Youngstown State, yeah.
No, the Penguins won't make it there.
Youngstown we're talking about. Okay.
Yes.
I wanted to ask, at Bowl BCS, Bowl Championship, what's a BCS Bowl?
Yeah, I think it's a Bowl Championship Series or whatever. But
where does that stand today, and where is it going in terms of determining a true number one national championship? Because
there's supposed to be a 14 playoff
this year.
That I think is a step in the right direction. But if they were going to do something like that, they should have gone all the way. I mean, I know football's a lot different sport than basketball. But you look at the NCAA tournament; they got 64 teams that make the tournament. To win the tournament, you got to win 6 games. So they got 6 weeks from the end of the season until when they play the BCS championship game. Why don't they have a round robin tournament, one and done, and have the teams play? There'll be 2 teams that'll play 6 games. All the rest of them, you play 1 game. Now, this would knock down the bowl system that's in place, which is antiquated and really, it needs to be done away with. It's a dinosaur, and they could make these venues into something that would be worth seeing, because you could have the bowl games at the stadiums where they've had them, but you've got other teams coming in, and you've got a game that actually means something, because somebody wins this game, they can move on. Then you may actually be able to watch a national champion caliber team play instead of watching Sam Houston State playing somewhere out in the bayou. You know
what, Chip and Mike, I tell you what, me personally, I'm kind of Mike's rubbing off on me, because I like the old school stuff. I didn't think that was wrong with the Rose Bowl. Why you got to go through this BCS and all these points?
Money.
I just used to like it when at the end of the year the AP and the coaches all had different things. I tell you what, this week a good friend of mine is Tom Bradley, former head coach of Penn State. And Tom Bradley said something very insightful to me. He says, listen, he says, of all the years, he says, think about it. He says, at Penn State, what we used to do is we recruited guys that could play in the cold, in the mud, in November, in December, in January. He said, then we got to go to a bowl, and it's 80 degrees, is this and that. He says, how about having a championship on our turf in the East? And that made a lot of sense, what Tom Bradley revealed to me this week. So.
And that's probably why he's not a head coach anymore.
No, and you know what?
Think about it. Right? If you have insights like that, Smoke and Jim, tell him my compliments to him. All right?
That is a good question. You think about it.
Brilliant.
Why have they never played a Super Bowl?
Money.
Good point.
And in the outdoors in the Northeast, where where it makes a big difference. The first game they played up north was in Detroit in the Dome.
Isn't there consideration for a Super Bowl game in either the East Rutherford venue or Yankee Stadium?
There's been talk about that, but football's played in any kind of weather. Rain, pestilence, plagues of locusts, whatever you have. And then that was the allure of professional football. Like the greatest game ever played when the Colts beat the
Giants.
The Giants. Okay.
Was,
you look at those. You look at that footage, and these guys are muddy and stuff like that. Nowadays, they've got it set up so that you play a game, and you can't even tell somebody's played. When I played sports, I came home with half the infield on my shirt and ground into my pants. You know what I mean? That was part of it, playing the game. But these guys, they've got everything set up, and they've got these next turf fields or whatever. Watching a guy slip and fall. O.J. Simpson used to juke people out of their cleats constantly.
He could cut.
Watching a guy sit there and go sliding about it. Deep cut, right?
Oh, did I say that? No intent meant.
But if you think
Dale
about-
Sayers was another one.
Yes,
you
he
know
could.
what? You know,
he
Dale
could
Sayers.
cut.
Yeah. They had the long cleat. But if you think about it, you know, the Super Bowl's never been fair. But the championships was always fair. Don't forget now, Miami Dolphins, not only in 72, not only were they great teams, who knows if they were better than the great Steeler teams, because the great Steeler teams never beat the Dolphins. But in 72, the
It was their
Dolphins
vitamins,
in
though.
72, the Dolphins was undefeated, and they had to come to Pittsburgh and play the championship.
After
And don't
we-
forget, maybe the greatest team of all time, maybe the most talented offense, and the defense wasn't no joke, was the Dan Fouts Charger team that had the best record, and they had to go over and play Cincinnati in
20
the
below.
championship game, and 20 below couldn't throw the football. I mean, they would have clearly won the Super Bowl. They were the best team, but they had to go on the road. It flip-flopped every year. And so, like Bradley says, we recruit kids to be able to play in the cold weather. Other guys recruit kids to play in 80-degree weather. They don't want to come up here and play in the cold, so who has the advantage?
I mean,
you know,
You think Bradley
It's not
could
fair.
become the commissioner of the NFL? Because I like what he's saying.
Well, he
Maybe
better-
if he were a commissioner.
Well, he better quit talking so much, or Congress may pull him in and find out what he really knows.
No, not yet. They've buried all that stuff there. If you want to check anything out, since you got me going,
Everybody ain't buried yet.
check out Louis Free. Check out all the criminal activities that he's involved with as the FBI director and everything else. You can check us out, Big Mike. I've been telling people before. Louis Free was involved in Flight 800, TWA 800. It got shot down.
Is this the guy that did the commission
The
for
guy in
Sandusky
the
thing?
yes, he come up with that report. They paid $6 million. They got the death sentence or whatever they got. They lost 118 wins because of Free, and he's
on the
actually a
Warren
criminal.
Commission, wasn't he?
Free's a criminal. He was an
Wasn't he
FBI
on the,
director.
Wasn't he on the Warren Commission as well?
No,
I mean,
he
that's
was.
old school.
No,
he wasn't.
Free wasn't on that one. That's a senator from our state who retired. He was
That was
on
the
that
magic
stuff.
bullet that killed
Yeah.
Kennedy.
We're not talking. That's so old school now. We can't even talk to you
He had
about
to come
that.
up with something.
You had to start this old school thing. We're talking politics here now. We got off the sports subject.
Awesome.
Talking sports. What about high school sports and Smoking Jim's pick of the year? Bet the house on Gateway.
Yeah, this is the greatest Gateway, and that's saying something because Gateway has 6 state championships, and Gateway had the greatest coach in WPIL history, and Pete Anna Marino,
Yep.
first coach inducted into the WPIL Hall of Fame. But I think this is the greatest Gateway team ever. They got 8 Division I players. They got 6 different uniforms. So if you see a uniform this week, you won't see it again until Halloween. But, the explosive, you got the quarterback that's going Division I Arizona. And I tell you what, they're explosive. I don't see any team keeping them under 50 points. And they got probably the best secondary in Pittsburgh. That's including the Steelers.
Wow.
They got 4 D1 players in their
Where are they
secondary.
playing
and
this
they're
week
shot
so we
down.
can watch it? You get tickets to the game.
I'm not sure where they're playing this week. I really didn't check, but I tell you what, I think it may come down to Gateway in Bethel Park like it did in 2007. Bethel Park got a kid that returned 3 punt returns for touchdowns, and they weren't called back like Rainey's. But and Clareton almost lost. Chartiers Houston being led by Garrett Volcano and Barry Foster's son playing running back for Chartiers Houston almost beat Clareton. Clareton won 22-20, so I always pull for Clareton to get beat.
How many games has Clareton won in a row now? Is it closing in on 50?
And it's their 48th win in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, they've won the state title 3-4 years in a row.
Yeah,
3 years in a row, I
at
thought.
least 4 years
Or
in a
maybe
row,
4, yeah.
all in Class A ball.
If they've won 50 in a row, that means every year that they've concluded their season, they had to win whatever
state championship.
Yeah, whatever's
State
available.
championship.
All
Well,
levels.
the best Class A school out there who just blew out Ambridge, which is a AAA school, is Aliquippa. But Aliquippa plays up every year. They're a Class A school. They play up. Clareton's been offered opportunities to play Aliquippa, and they've always turned it down.
Smoke, when you were talking about Gateway, did you say that the quarterback has committed to going to Arizona?
With Rich Rodriguez, and he's the next Pat White.
But how can you? I thought, tell me when you are allowed to declare
Eighth
your...
grade. Eighth grade. Leaks from Florida that played on the Florida's national championship when Tim Tebow was a freshman, committed to Wake Forest when he was in eighth grade, and then by the time he was a senior, changed to Florida.
Wow. There's some insights there, huh?
Yeah,
at least he was able to say it as opposed to, well, I know a story, but I can't say it. You know what I mean?
Who are you talking about? The prophet can't reveal some of this inside info. That's why he's the prophet. Come on.
I sit corrected.
You're just learning the show. You're old school.
But don't forget Terrell Pryor, University of Pittsburgh, that don't really recruit locally. Terrell Pryor was probably the best sophomore basketball player in the country, and he committed verbally to Pitt to play basketball.
Hey, guys, I got to interrupt you. There's a guy that normally tells me not to look at my phone.
Okay.
I just got a message from Mike. I am fine.
Oh.
Migliore.
Oh, great.
So we got
All right, Magic Mike.
If you're watching, I broke the rules because you know I'm in charge tonight. I got the phone. I am fine.
I am hip used to be a running back
exactly.
for.
And sorry to interrupt you, but
man.
That's our man who got us all together here.
That's it.
If we don't, give compliments out to him and keep him going.
Did he send that, or did somebody from the VA send that?
Hold
message?
on a second. I cannot
Check the spelling.
I cannot verify that. And Mike knows what we mean and everything else. Don't kill the messenger here. I'm just telling you.
I ain't gonna believe it till I see the whites of his eyes.
Whoa, there you go again.
So to touch on one last thing which we haven't heard anything about yet, and we're still a couple of weeks away from the Penguins going to training camp.
That's right. That's right.
Is there going to be an NHL season this year?
Not to
Are
start.
the owners going to lock out the players? September 15th is the drop dead date. So that's a week from Friday. I believe that's a week from
What did I
Friday.
tell you? No deal. This is like the NBA. I see all the tea leaves are lining up the same way. It's about the money. It's the percentage. We've talked about
Will
this.
they play this year at all?
They'll play.
Okay.
I know
right
Yager's
away.
already signed up for play in the Russian league, but
Malkin,
Malkin.
Yeah,
is,
you went back to the Yager then.
but Malkin's scheduled to play in the Russian league, and that's the same league where they the
Here,
planes
just
don't make it off the runway, and they end up in the swamp upside down.
Here's another point. Think about this. Sidney Crosby's looking to play in Europe somewhere. Who in their right mind would want to let Sidney play anywhere with the concussions he's had the last 2 years?
Oh, wait a second. That is such an awesome point because that's the same thing as who's calling the shots? Is it Sidney Crosby or is it Steven Strasburg? Who's calling the shots? I mean, if he wants to play there, how can you deny that?
To speak to that point, this thing with Steven Strasburg and them shutting him down. You know what? The reason why you signed Steven Strasburg is so that the Washington Nationals could have a chance to win a championship.
Absolutely.
They've got a chance to win a championship this year, and they may not get another chance. And you know what? He could blow out his arm on the first pitch of next season. They need to let that young man pitch and play ball. And, they gotta throw these pitch counts right in the garbage can where they belong. Okay?
Hey
Because
guys,
I've never heard of a
we're
bigger
gonna
bunch
have
of
to
crap.
hold these thoughts until next week. But that's why we have the show. We talk what's on our mind throughout the show. You can join the conversation with Big Mike Butera, Smoking Jim Frazier, Chip the Prophet Hayner, who has some inside info on Pitt, and Al Levine, the Talking Machine. Thanks for enjoying the show. See us on YouTube, folks. And Mike Migliore, see you next week, buddy.